Do you like fast-paced 2D action games? How about roguelikes in the vein of Dead Cells? Or are you a fan of games that have a distinct art direction and fantastic pixel art? If you answered yes to any of those questions, stick around, because I'm going to be talking about a game that you might want to look into. A few weeks ago, we received a message from a member of Platonic Games PR. They wanted to know if we were interested in one of their upcoming titles. This title is called Elsie, and according to their website, it is described as a technicolor, hyperkinetic, roguelike action platformer filled with procedurally generated levels, an army of robots to blast through, and a wide scope of items and weaponry to make each run as unique as possible. As a fan of games like Dead Cells and Katana Zero, I told them I was definitely interested, and they sent me information about the game and told me about the demo that is currently on Steam, and gave me some promotional material for the title. So now, let's dive into my thoughts after spending some time in the demo, while my gameplay is showing on the screen. First of all, what do I like about Elsie? The first thing I want to talk about is the game looks incredible. The pixel art is fantastic, the effects look great, the level design and enemy design and character design, everything is very distinct, very interesting, looks fantastic, pops, has a great color palette. I am a big fan of the way that this game looks. Along with that, the music that I've heard so far is really awesome as well. It has a bit of a chiptune classic video game vibe with a little bit more modern sensibilities. There's some electric guitar coming in here and there for some of the segments, and overall, I took notice of the music pretty much immediately, and I think that that is a great sign, and hopefully, in the full game, that carries through the whole experience. But how does it feel to play? Personally, I thought it felt really good. I had a good time. I felt like I was always in control of the character. It's tough. It's a tough roguelike 2D game. Obviously, as you play through, you will unlock more permanent upgrades and things that can make your runs a little bit easier, turn the tide in your favor. But I thought it felt good to play. I thought moment to moment and screen to screen, it was responsive and did everything that a game in this genre needs to do. So, I mentioned Dead Cells earlier, and similar to Dead Cells, you are given an option of whether or not you want to upgrade or pick a different weapon or ability when you start your run. And then as your run is going, you're prompted to spend currency or get certain unlockables to upgrade that weapon or upgrade abilities. And I thought that all of the different abilities and weapons that I got to play around with and that were available to me in the demo were easy to understand, fun to play with, and they allowed for that level of flexibility that makes these games so fun and makes you just want to do one more run, well, let me try one more run. Oh, this is a really cool gun that I haven't played with before. Turns out it might be my new favorite. So I think this game has that element that is core to this genre. While I was playing, I didn't really find the levels to be all that challenging. I did die a few times trying to figure things out or learn exactly what the game was asking of me, but as far as the enemy variety I encountered and the challenges that were given to me to overcome, I didn't feel like the levels themselves were too challenging. However, the bosses seem to be where the game really wants you to put up or shut up. It's where they take all of the information they've taught you and they want you to make full use of it to get through a combat situation. I fought 3 or 4 different styles of bosses so far. I'm not done playing this demo at the time of recording this. I intend to go back and keep playing a little bit more, but I wanted to record this while my thoughts were freshest. And the bosses are really cool. It's definitely that classic learn the patterns, memorize the moves, respond when you see the prompts, and you see the little flicker that tells you a beam of light is coming down from the sky. Get out of the way. It's a lot of that kind of stuff. There's a lot happening on screen, and I think that kind of balances out the levels not being too difficult. You spend more time in the levels trying to explore and platform and find things to cobble together a working build, and one that feels good and powerful and strong, and then you take that build into these bosses, and that is where you test to see how well you did. Now, what are some of the things that I didn't like as much? First of all, I'm not really a big fan of the way that the game tutorializes things. So at least in the demo that I played, you would come across a item or something in the environment, and it would just be there. And you have that feeling of, I'm pretty sure I'm supposed to be able to interact with this, but I'm not sure how or why or what. I even reached a point where the only way for me to progress was to interact with some sort of item in the level, and I tried my best to figure out what exactly I needed to do, and eventually I was like, you know what, I'm just going to quit out, try again. And when I came back and tried again, the first thing that popped up was a tutorial explaining what that thing was that I needed to progress. So it almost seems like they want you to fail. Once you fail, the next time you load into a run, they'll explain the thing that could have helped you. This is kind of annoying to me. I would rather you tell me up front and then let me try to work with that knowledge, as opposed to withhold that knowledge and then give it to me after it was the cause of my failure. Overall, I talked about how the gameplay feels really good. There are a few moments where things feel a little bit slippery or a little not quite tight enough. There's some platforming segments that I played that worked fine, but could definitely, I feel like, be a little bit tighter to make the overall experience better. I don't think that they were broken or bad or holding the game back in any significant way, but it's just a few little hiccups here that I had when playing where I was like, that didn't feel quite as good as maybe it should have. And the only other thing that I'll point out, and keep in mind this is a demo, it's an early slice of the game, but I did see certain screens a lot when doing multiple runs. So the idea of a procedurally generated game is that you will have a different run or a different experience or set of level sections of the level every time you play it. And when I played this, sure, it wasn't always in the exact same spot, but there was at least one screen that I can remember seeing that I saw in almost every single run. This isn't a deal breaker. It's nothing that is the end of the world. But when you're claiming to add variety to your game by having different level layouts and procedural generation, once you start to notice that same exact screen multiple times, so maybe there's not as much variety there as there should be. Like I said, this is just the first section of the game. It's just a demo, so maybe that gets better as time goes on. Maybe that's just how it is in this early level. I can't speak to the whole experience, but it is something I noticed. So what are my final impressions? I think that Elsie is shaping up to be a really fun 2D roguelike game. There are a few things here and there that I think could be tweaked to make it an even smoother experience, but if it launched as is now, I still think it would be worth playing, and I still think it would be a lot of fun, especially if you like this style of game. But what do you think? Are you looking forward to Elsie? Had you ever heard of it before this video? Let me know in the comments below. And if you want to hear more in-depth conversations about video games in general, check out our podcast here on YouTube or on your favorite podcast platform. That's it for this one. Stay friendly, gamers.